So let me get this straight. America, the greatest country in the world, is going through a famine. I'm going to call it a famine. Not a famine of bread or water, but of leadership, of compassion, of responsibility. Because right now, there are about 670,000 federal workers that have been furloughed, sent home without pay, and another 730,000 who are working without pay, just to keep the nation running. Congress can't even fulfill its most basic duty, which is to keep the government open. Instead of governing, both sides are locked into endless bickering, trading blame, spinning lies, and weaponizing truth. And while they fight, guess what happens? People are starving. Famines aren't just for ancient stories. They're not just for the Old Testament. They're happening right now whenever there is power that stops feeding the people that they are called to serve. As Thanksgiving is right around the corner and it approaches, over 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, they're facing a terrifying uncertainty. The U.S. Department of Agriculture recently announced this. Bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st. Let's pause right now, just for 1 second. Whoever wrote that statement needs to take a long, hard look at themselves. Bottom line, the well has run dry. That message wasn't written for politicians. It was written for people who are suffering. Imagine a single mom trying to feed her baby goes to that website and reads that and says, sorry, bottom line, the well has run dry. That is not leadership, that's callousness. That's what happens when power loses empathy. And it doesn't stop there. This video is not about picking sides. It's not about politics, one side being right and one side being wrong. But you guys, this should not be a political campaign message hiding under a government logo. I don't think it's right using an official government website to push an agenda. From the Department of Justice website, we read, Democrats have shut down the government. Department of Justice websites are not currently regularly updated. From the HUD website, the radical left in Congress shut down the government. HUD will use available resources to help Americans in need. My friends, these are official government websites funded by taxpayers, being used as weapons of propaganda. You know what this reminds me of? It's like two parents that are standing in front of their hungry children, pointing fingers and shouting at each other. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Meanwhile, no one's making dinner. That's a blame game. And in the end, everyone suffers, especially the children. Because instead of solutions, what we're seeing is lawsuits. Governors and attorneys general from 25 states are suing to try and restore funding. Millions of dollars are going to be spent in litigation while people can't afford groceries. Meanwhile, billions of dollars are being sent in foreign aid packages as our own citizens are going hungry. And that's a shame. Politicians are playing games while families pay the price. Like those two parents who refuse to look beyond the tips of their own noses, too proud to back down, too angry to listen, too blinded to see that their children are sitting right there in front of them. So what they do is they lock themselves up in their room to argue for hours while their kids wait in the living room, hungry, scared, and falling asleep on empty stomachs. And that is America right now. That is our America. And just like those children, the people of this nation are coming to the painful realization that their parents, the leaders of this country, are messed up. So here's a wake-up call to all of us. We can't just sit back and thank the Lord that this isn't affecting us. We're called to open our eyes, to intercede, and to act. Just like the older siblings in that household who realize that their parents are broken, we need to pray for them. But we also need to take care of our younger siblings. In other words, we can't just wait for Congress to fix itself because they won't. All parties are corrupt. I know this is not exactly a popular thing to say, but all parties are corrupt. Our hope was never meant to rest in political systems anyway. We need to bring our attention back to God, not to the left, not to the right, but above. Pray that His will be done. Pray for His blessings, His protection, His guidance, and then act. Jesus said, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters, you did for me. This is our moment to live that truth. My friends, we all know someone who is struggling. Maybe they're embarrassed to say it. Maybe they're trying to hold it together. But this is the time for us to reach out to them. You don't have to empty your bank account to save a city, but you can save a moment for one person. Take a gift card to someone, to Trader Joe's, to a grocery store. Give it to someone. Fill somebody's gas tank. Pay a bill they didn't see coming. Drop off a meal on a doorstep. Because this isn't about politics, it's about the posture of our hearts. This famine, it's a test of whether we are real followers of Christ or merely fans who sing about love but never show it. If you look at Isaiah chapter 58, God defines true worship. True worship, not as rituals or songs, but as feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and loosening the chains of injustice. It says, if you spend yourselves in behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday. And that is what true faith looks like. And remember Elijah and the widow. In 1 Kings chapter 17, the woman, Elijah had nothing at all. And the woman only had a handful of flour and a little oil. She was preparing what she thought would be her last meal before she and her son died. Yet Elijah told her, make me a small cake. It sounded crazy to her, but she, by faith, obeyed. And what happened? If you remember, God multiplied her supply. The flour never ran out. The oil never dried up. Her faith opened the door for a miracle. And that is what I'm inviting all of us into. For us to use our faith to open the door to a miracle that is going to sweep across the nation and the world. This is where we are today, my friends. We may not be able to fix Washington. We may not be able to refill the government's treasury, but we can fill one plate, pray one prayer, and show one act of mercy that keeps the flame of faith alive in a time of famine. So let's stop waiting for Congress to change and start asking God to change us. Let's be the miracle that someone else is praying for. Because while politicians argue behind closed doors, while mom and dad are still bickering behind closed doors, the Spirit of God is still moving among His people, among His children, feeding the hungry, comforting the weary, turning scarcity into abundance for those who trust Him. This is our moment to rise, not with blame or bitterness, but with faith, with compassion, and with courage. Let's not just talk about Jesus. Let's live like Him and help our younger siblings eat. Let's make sure there's food on their plates. It's up to us. God bless you.